you, Mr. Warden. Regarding the fares, there's $18,000 being distributed. Is that all equal to 6 fares? Okay.
Yes, they each get the same amount.
Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried, none opposed. Moving on to the AMO call to the province for social and economic prosperity review. Madam Clerk.
It's moved by Councillor Bergeron, seconded by Councillor Densham. Whereas current provincial municipal fiscal arrangements are undermining Ontario's economic prosperity and quality of life, and whereas nearly a third of municipal spending in Ontario is for services in areas of provincial responsibility and expenditures are outpacing provincial contributions by nearly $4 billion a year. And whereas municipal revenues, such as property taxes, do not grow with the economy or inflation, and whereas unprecedented population and housing growth will require significant investments in municipal infrastructure. And whereas municipalities are being asked to take on complex health and social challenges like homelessness, supporting asylum seekers, and addressing the mental health and addiction crises. And whereas inflation, rising interest rates, and provincial policy decisions are sharply constraining municipal fiscal capacity. And whereas property taxpayers, including people on fixed incomes and small businesses, can't afford to subsidize income redistribution programs for those most in need. And whereas the province can and should invest more in the prosperity of communities, and whereas municipalities and the provincial government have a strong history of collaboration, therefore be it resolved that the Council of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas and Glengarry requests that the Province of Ontario commit to undertaking with the Association of Municipalities of Ontario a comprehensive social and economic prosperity review to promote the stability and sustainability of municipal finances across Ontario, and further that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Minister of Finance, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, MPP Nolan Quinn, MPP Stéphane Sarrazin, local SDG municipalities, and EOWC municipalities.
Good job, Kimberly. I'll ask Maureen to speak to this report.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I think following our most recent budget deliberations, and then also just the myriad of items that we've been bringing forward to Council from a financial perspective, most recently we've seen an increased need to support organizations like the Last Resort Fund. I think that the call that AMO is asking municipalities to consider to pass this resolution is, I think, very applicable to what has happened within SDG and in our region as a whole. There also has been quite a bit of discussion similar to this at the EOWC level, and I think we find that funding for Ontario Works and ODSP recipients specifically is not sufficient. What is happening is municipalities are taking care of those types of needs in their communities more than ever, and we're also kind of falling behind when it comes to infrastructure and capital, and I know this also impacts your local municipalities. So many municipalities have already adopted this resolution as soon as it came out. So I think at the time of writing the report, I think there were, I think I was able to track about 40 or 50 municipalities that already adopted the resolution, many in Eastern Ontario. So we thought we would bring it forward on this agenda for Council's consideration, and it's our recommendation that we support a similar resolution. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Go ahead, Councillor McGillis.
Just a comment, thank you. Yeah, I received other resolutions, and it was circulated to other throughout 444 municipalities with respect to their feeling the pinch and shouldering all the downloadings going on through the province, and that's just not recently. That's been going on now since the 2000s, like the early 2000s, and they haven't stopped. So it's time that they have to step up to the plate. I know there's other municipalities, they'd like to expand their housing because of this housing crisis that we're in, and they're still bringing in many people from other countries. And they're looking at, what, $500,000 a year for the next 2 years at least. And we just don't have the housing to support that. So I think the infrastructure mostly is the wastewater and water that we need funding for. Other municipalities and SDG are feeling the pinch too as well. So hopefully this will help. This will help make them open their eyes. But we've been saying this, and we've been attending meetings at the provincial level with the cabinet ministers, or if they're not them, the PAs. And it's time that hopefully that they understand we can't use our reserves, as they said. They know that's not true. I mean, we're legislated how much reserves we have to maintain so that we don't put a big amount of taxes towards the property taxpayer. We have to plan for the future. So reserves is not an answer. So we have to get more funding for the infrastructure that's needed in this community and all the communities in throughout Ontario. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Densham, then Councillor Williams.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden, and I agree with Councillor McGillis's comments. I guess my question was more for our Roma representative. I think given the fact that we are rural municipalities, I wonder what Roma's stance is on this. I want to be sure that, yes, we look at this from an AMO perspective, but we also make sure that we have the rural perspective on this as well. So I'm wondering if you have any comments to offer.
Nothing in particular, other than Roma recognizes the fact that AMO is leading this charge, because basically, the issue of downloading, as you well pointed out, Councillor McGillis, is across the board and affecting every single municipality, certainly in Ontario. And so I think Roma, what Roma will do is put its support behind AMO and support AMO in this effort, and because actually this call for the province to do this social and economic prosperity review, I believe it was unveiled at the Roma conference. So we fully support the direction that AMO is going on this, and I'm glad to see us supporting this resolution. Does that answer your question? Yes, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Williams, did you have more to add? Okay. Councillor Fraser, then Councillor McGillis.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you, we talked, I think, during our budget discussions about how we need to become more. I'll forget the words we were using, but more proactive on our efforts to deliver the message. And I know we're all on the same page in this room to do about the message. I'm just wondering, Mr. Warden or Madam CAO, have you had opportunities? I know I didn't maybe take the opportunity to speak to our MPP, either one, Sarazan or Quinn, and ask them if they could describe and explain to me or to all of us how they feel that this is right, that they continue downloading, because they are they. Mm-hmm. And because we're all on the same page. And I need to understand, and I think they need to sit here and understand our feelings, not from afar, but up close. And I'm not sure, Mr. Warden or Madam CEO, if there's an opportunity sometime, I know not today or tomorrow, but whenever they have an opportunity to present here, can we invite them to explain how this works for them and how they see it fits for us, this idea of downloading? And because we need to have the message delivered, and these are valuable things, supporting resolutions, but I think we need to have them explain to us why.
No, I think that's
Thank you.
definitely something. Go ahead, Madam Clerk, that we can do. Did you want to say? Did you want to speak, Madam Clerk? Not Clerk, sorry. Madam CAO.
Through you, Mr. Warden, I'd be happy to reach out to both of the MPPs to see if there's an opportunity to have them come as a delegation to a county council meeting. So I know sometimes their schedule might be might not align with some of our council meetings, but I can reach out and see if I can get that lined up.
And if I may, Mr. Warden, if their schedules don't line up, I look forward to the opportunity through the Warden and Madam CAO, if it fits for their schedule outside of this schedule.
We could look at a special council meeting to do that.
Yeah.
If not a special, just the Warden representing.
Okay, thank you, and I do agree with you, Councillor, that the funny part is probably 75% of MPPs are former councillors, municipal councillors, and they've seen this, and yet they're still. And MPP Sarazan is the former mayor of Alfred Plantagenet, so I think he understands it. So no, I think it's a good idea. Councillor McGillis?
Thank you very much. We know that Eastern rural Ontario has seen a heck of an impact in terms of we call it downloading. I'm just wondering if the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus is what they're doing at this point in time, because they carry a lot of clout, and it's Eastern Ontario, so can you maybe fill us in on what their stance is?
So we are in strategic planning this week, so I think that's going to be one of the key messages from my fellow wardens who are there. We have that AMO report, which is, it's very to the point, and it's so I see that that's going to be definitely one of our strategic priorities for the upcoming year. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Financial Services 2023 reserve transactions. Madam Clerk.
It's moved by Councillor Densham, seconded by Councillor McGillis, that the Council of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas and Glengarry approve the 2023 reserve transactions up to the following amounts to be used in 2024. $42,317 to be allocated to the Corporate Projects Reserve, $7,960 to be allocated to the IT Reserve, $924,443 to be allocated to the Roads Projects Reserve, $1,812,286.06 to be allocated to the Now Needs Roads Reserve, $971,686 to be allocated to the Bridge Reserve, $253,812.13 to be allocated to the Economic Development Reserve, $33,669.19 to be allocated to the Police Reserve, $2,677.07 to be allocated to the Library Reserve, and $15,300 to be allocated to the Planning Reserve. Any budget overages related to shared services and the Glenstore Dunn Lodge will be funded by the 2023 Accumulated General Surplus first, and then funded by the Tax Rate Stabilization Reserve if required. Any remaining accumulated general surplus as at December 31st, 2023 will be allocated to the Working Reserve.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Rebecca.
Good morning, Council. So the Municipal Act requires that all reserve transactions must be approved by Council, whether through the budget process or through a resolution. And normally when we get our year-end and audit preparation complete, we come up with a reserve transaction for our year-end allocations, and we bring it to Council to have it authorized through a resolution, and the auditors do require that. So any projects that were not completed or were in progress in 2023, we're requesting that they be put into reserves, and it funds the completion of the project in 2024. And any deficit that occurs through the City of Cornwall Shared Services or Glenstore Dunn Lodge first be funded through the general surplus for the year, and then be funded through the Tax Rate Stabilization Reserve if required. Any surplus deficit overall is then funded by the Working Reserve. If Council would like, I can go through the reserves in detail, or if you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Just a question about the Now Needs Roads. I think it's been quite some time since we've talked about the Now Needs Roads, and there actually might be some councillors around the table who aren't even familiar what the intention of that reserve is, and I'm just wondering, it's a significant sum of money there. Is it going to existing projects, or can we find new roads that we would like to have dealt with? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Warden. So the Now Needs Roads Reserve, a policy was developed maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. It was the last term of council when it was created, and the intention was that any surplus allocated to the roads budget, any surplus at the end of the year, be allocated to the Now Needs Roads Reserve in order to fund the roads that we always seem to never get to through the budget process. And one of the items I should probably mention is the Now Needs Roads Reserve, especially this year, a large portion of that surplus relates to winter maintenance and winter activities, as well as the salt reinstatement. So this, every year, we hold salt as an inventory. We have to restate it to the value that is sitting in the domes at December 31st. So some of that surplus is actually related to the surplus that we carry for salt at the end of the year, but it is outlined in the policy that also becomes part of the Now Needs Roads Reserve, and it's really specific to fund whatever roads council desires in the future. We were hoping that this one of the Now Needs Roads Reserve might be something that council would be open to allocating to the County Road 22.
Go ahead.
So, Derek, are you going to be coming back to us with a list of roads then? Is that what,
There's a reporting camera that will outline some of this.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Thank you, Rebecca. Sorry, I'm not going there. Tenders and quotations, surfacing, Madam Clerk.
It's moved by Councillor Laundrie, seconded by Councillor Broad, that the Council of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas and Glengarry accept the joint tender from Miller Paving Limited for microsurfacing on various roads at their unit prices totaling $485,845.75 plus HST, and that the Manager of Infrastructure be authorized to sign all necessary documents to give effect to the contract.
Thank you. Welcome, Mike.
Good morning, Council. Thank you. So this is our annual microsurfacing program, which we recommend completed. It's a very cost-effective way of keeping our good roads good. It's very thin layer. It seals up a lot of the small cracks that we wouldn't want to try to get to with crack sealing or something that's more labor intensive. Biggest complaint is that it rides rough for the first year until a plow has polished it, but on the asset management side of things, it pays for itself in the long run. This year's tender was a good price. We would be able to complete this within budget, so we're recommending that we proceed with it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McGillis.
Thank you again. I was just wondering if there's more companies that showed interest other than the two that's presently here in front of us.
To my knowledge, there aren't very many companies in this industry, and these are the same two that we see year after year. We've worked with both of them. We've had good results with both of them, but I don't believe that there are very many others that are willing to travel from other regions to here to complete this kind of work. And to my knowledge, these two organizations do travel, for example, to Atlantic Canada sometimes to do the work out there. So I think that if we were to look, back up and look at the map, there just aren't any other companies within this region that could do this that are looking at our tenders.
And it certainly was a close tender, $1,200. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried, none opposed. Centerline markings, Madam Clerk.
It's moved by Councillor Broad, seconded by Councillor McGillis, that the Council of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas and Glengarry accept the joint tender from Provincial Road Markings Incorporated for centerline pavement markings at their unit prices totaling $617,209 plus HST for 2024. The joint tender includes the following: United Counties, $540,152, Township of North Dundas, $1,757, Township of North Stormont, $7,781, Township of South Stormont, $16,064, Township of North Glengarry, $27,610, Township of South Glengarry, $23,845, and that the term of the contract with this company include an option to renew for one additional 1 year, 2025, and that the Manager of Infrastructure be authorized to sign all necessary documents to give effect to this contract.
Thank you. Mike.
Thank you. So this is a joint tender that includes the county and 5 of the 6 townships. And again, it's within budget, and this would be for the yellow and white markings delineating the lanes on the road. Then we are recommending award.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and through you. Just a question, Mike. In your financial analysis, it just said that it's up 20% over a period of 2 years. But then later, right at the very end, it says in 2023, specialty paint marking tender inflation was 30.5%. But I had understood we only did this every 2 years, and we were able to carry forward. So is it up 20%, or is it up 20 plus the 30 at 50? I just wasn't sure.
What I meant there was that between 2021 and 2023, specialty increased by 30.5, and this year we are in year 2 of the 2-year term with that contractor, and so the one number applies to the other contract as a comparison, because again, it is paint products that are being put down, so it's to provide the context of what the inflation over time on paint products looks like. So these are 2 different numbers from 2 different contracts, but I provided it to try and be helpful with some information there.
So it would be 50% over 4 years then, maybe. Would that be correct?
I apologize, I didn't pull the number out for what specialty, how much, centerline increased from 2020 to 2022. But if you're interested in that number, I could pull that out and provide
I'm just
it.
kind of wondering how much it has increased, if it's the 20%, the 30, or a combination of the two, and just for my own.
There's about a 1-year overlap between how much centerline went up and how much specialty went up, so.
Thank you.
Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. And through you, specialty would be like your parking, like the sides of the roads, right? Like your parking spots and this is 2 different contracts, because I think that's, okay, good. I just wanted to be, okay, good. So one's up 20%, one's up 30%.
Correct. Specialty would be your stop bars at intersections, railroad tracks, parking stalls where we do paint them on the side of the road in some settlement areas, anything that isn't the linear with the road pavement markings, yes.
Okay, thank you. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried, none opposed. Moving on to boom flail mower purchase. Madam Clerk.
It's moved by Councillor Landry, seconded by Councillor Bergeron, that the Council of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas and Glengarry accept the tender from Eastern Farm Machinery Limited for the purchase of 2 boom flail mowers at a total tendered price of $53,620, and that the Manager of Operations be authorized to sign all necessary documents to give effect to the contract.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Trevor.
Good morning, Mr. Warden, Council. What's in front of you now is a request to authorize purchase of 2 long arm mowers for the county's fleet. For those who aren't familiar, it's an attachment that goes on the 3-point hitch of our tractors. We currently have a fleet of 4 of these machines. This is simply to replace 2 of the current 4 that are at the end of their life. I believe all the details are in the report, but if there's any questions, I'm glad to answer.
Yeah, I have a question. Just seems like a big in the bids, and we also allocated $150,000 for the replacement of the mowers. Is this just really good pricing?
As far as we can tell, very good pricing. There is quite a variance in the bids. The way this tender is structured is we identify acceptable models that would meet our specs. This request came in to add this model as an acceptable. We reviewed it. Everything seems to be equal, so just very, very aggressive pricing, yes.
Excellent. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried, none opposed. Thank you. Bylaws. Madam Clerk.
It's moved by Councillor Densham, seconded by Councillor Broad, that bylaw number 5441, being a bylaw to adopt official plan amendment number 21 to the official plan of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas and Glengarry, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Thank you. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you, Warden, and good morning. This is for expansion of the McEwen Agri Center for a seed storage warehouse, fertilizer blending facility, and a truck repair station. We did have questions from the public that I think were answered through the public consultation process and the application supported by the Township of North Glengarry.
Okay. Questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor McDonald, then Councillor Bergeron.
Thank you, and through Mr. Warden. And I guess it's a question of both you and Councillor Williams, and glad to support it. I was just curious if there's any conversation at your council table in that I guess you're taking residential, turning it into so that they can use it this way. That doesn't impact future growth of Maxville, because I find sometimes, you know, when we do, and I'm very mediocre, we'll say, at OP and provincial policy statement, but, you know, we have our hamlet areas. You're not worried about that being lost, or that didn't come up?
At this point, I'd say no. We have a large swath of land that could be developed up to 700 homes that is owned by these people as well, McEwen. So I think that we have plenty of land available to grow in Maxville. Go ahead, Madam.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. And exactly, there's a significant amount of already residentially zoned land available. And additionally, it wouldn't really be appropriate to build homes in that area because it's already of industrial use, and so it wouldn't be a good fit.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bergeron.
Thank you, Warden. I just wondered if at the public meeting, because I see residences to the east of this area, if any of them complained about future noise or dust or in the future from this?
I think Peter can answer that.
Not necessarily at the public meeting, but we had people come into the township office or send letters, and there was a report that was completed by the consultant. They had they committed to meeting all the setbacks from the Ministry of the Environment for the D-Series guidelines. So I think there's a 70-meter setback from any development to the property line, so it'll be kind of well back from the residents. So there were some concerns, but in the end, they did not go to the public meeting and voice more concerns. It was more just questions and comments about the development. And I think when people saw that it was set for pretty far back from the houses, I think that kind of alleviated a lot of the concerns.
Councillor Williams.
Councillor Bergeron, yeah, I did receive a couple of emails of concern, but then the residents were forwarded all of the information which answered all of their questions, and they were, at the end of the day, they were satisfied. I think there's also going to be a site plan agreement associated with this development, is that correct, Peter? And so North Glengarry Council can ask for, a line of trees as a buffer, or, something to that effect that'll help protect those residences even further. We'll be able to do that ask for it if we want, I think.
Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried, none opposed. Thank you, Peter. Items under the consent agenda. Madam Clerk.
It's moved by Councillor McGillis, seconded by Councillor Landry, that all items listed under the consent agenda section of the agenda be received for information purposes.
Is there any questions on the consent agenda? Go ahead, Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Warden, and through you. Just on the monthly financial summary, I see we're in a surplus. Is that still a work in progress, or is that an official number? I know the counties typically are faster than sometimes lower tiers at finishing that number.
So as of this moment, that is a surplus without the City of Cornwall's year-end numbers. So once the year-end numbers come in from the City of Cornwall, whether it's surplus or deficit, if they come in over budget, it'll lower that 300,000 surplus.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried, none opposed. Moving on to boards and committees. Joint liaison is this coming week, I believe, or next week, sorry. Next week. Library board. Go ahead, Councillor Broad.
Yeah, we didn't have a meeting last month. Our next meeting is Thursday, March 28th.
Okay, thank you. Police Services Board. Okay, thank you. Eastern Ontario Health Unit. Geez, nobody met, last month? Go ahead. Do you have something? No. Glenstore Dunn Lodge. Councillor Broad.
No meeting last month. Our next meeting is this Wednesday, March 20th.
And Councillor Gaydon is not here. Raisin South Nation Source Water Protection Committee. No meeting. Councillor Fraser, no meeting. Eastern Ontario Agri-Food Network. No meeting. Regional Incentives Program Approvals Committee. This Wednesday. Perfect. Rural Education Committee, Councillor St. Pierre is not here. No Social Development Council. SDG Forest Working Group, Councillor Lang.
I'll make a couple of comments. No meeting this month, but we did have a meeting January 24th, reviewing the forest projects update, reviewing the draft forest use policy, and the forest policy itself. So just get to know each other and reviewing the policy. I don't think we're going to meet more than likely quarterly.
Okay, thank you for the report. Key information report, SDG library lease agreements. Rebecca, are you speaking to the, Rebecca? Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you. Good morning. This report just serves to update council on the update of our library lease agreements. They expired as of December 31st, 2022. And on November 23rd, 2023, last year, we formed a working group with representatives from each municipality. And the reason for this was to truly consolidate and make one lease agreement that is black and white in terms of outlining the services delivered and rendered to the municipality for the library. And it would be standardized across all municipalities to be equitable and fair. Since then, on February 13th of this year, we created a draft review of the library lease agreement. Edits were made and changed, and it'll be brought forward to the CAOs and to municipalities and to the library board for approval next week. I'm here to answer any questions if council has any.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Getting off easy. Thank you. 2023-2024 Economic Development Activities Update. Welcome, Tara.
I'm excited to update you today on the economic development projects and priorities I've been working on for the past year. It's been an incredibly busy year for entrepreneurs in SDG counties and neighboring Cornwall. We've seen dozens of new business openings. Many of you have participated in ribbon cuttings over the past year to celebrate these new businesses. In the past year, we've worked with more than 75 new or growing companies. We've welcomed everything from candy stores and restaurants to industrial clients and on-farm experiences. To support our business community, we launched the Made in SDG video series, and a few of you have helped to recommend and participate in some of those videos. We feature local businesses, services, and experiences. I also launched an economic development newsletter which highlights emerging grants and supports. It's a free newsletter and people can sign up at madeinsdg.ca. We similarly launched a YouTube channel and a Facebook page to promote our businesses and to showcase grants and programs that might benefit them. Our Facebook page now has over 1,300 followers and growing, and it's developed in less than a year. A new site selection guide was created, and our website is being continually updated to respond to business needs. We have a site selection tool on our website to promote available properties, and we also advertise properties with the Ontario East Economic Development Commission. There is a clear shortage of industrial lands in Ontario right now. Our investment properties continue to generate interest from a variety of investors. We are also looking to emerging market opportunities in the film and cruise ship industries. Our regional incentives program remains a strong tool to attract new investments and to promote expansions. Since launching in 2018, the program has now supported more than 100 projects. They represent a combined construction value of more than $10 million. Between 2018 and 2023, SDG counties invested $1.35 million into this program. The current intake has attracted 10 applicants, which you will be seeing next month, And REPAC is meeting this Wednesday to review the recommendations to bring forward to Council. In late 2022, medical recruitment became an economic development priority. Ontario Health estimates that approximately 20,000 residents in our region do not have access to primary care. It's estimated that by 2026, as many as 1 in 4 Ontarians may lack access. In conjunction with the Great River Ontario Health Team, we hosted 2 town hall meetings in SDG last year. Priorities were identified and working groups launched to address them. Our collaborative approach and the data collected at these events became part of a funding application to the province, which secured just over $4 million last November in funding that will help to hire more doctors, nurses, and healthcare workers for our region, in addition to social care workers to align with that. On the local front, we launched the Great River Docs Medical Recruitment Campaign earlier this year, and which intends to position SDG as a good place to practice medicine. Since launching this program, we have had 1 physician inquiry for SDG and 2 for Russell Township. And I will note to Mayor Broad that what physician will be taking up practice in Morrisburg for a retiring physician. And we continue to promote the program. We continue to advocate for business priorities and to support collaborative projects. We remain strong partners with the Cornwall and SDG Business Enterprise Center and are working with St. Lawrence College to advocate for more skilled trade courses here in Cornwall. Efforts to extend a renewable natural gas pipeline continue with the Eastern Ontario Waste Handling Facility in Moose Creek, and a new biodigester project is now running with GetCorp at the Thurler Farm in South Dundas. There are multiple efforts to support initiatives that attract workers to our region, where the unemployment rate currently rests at around 5%. In terms of workforce development, we have launched new promotional materials to attract workers, and we continue to participate in both regional and local job fairs. It's estimated that there are more than 500 open jobs in our region right now, and you will note that with all of the industry expansions, that number will grow. To better understand our priorities for the next 5 years, we will be undertaking an update to our Economic Development Strategic Plan. This process is expected to begin this spring. At the same time, we will be reviewing the Regional Incentives Program to look for potential ways to improve upon that program. In closing, I just wanted to highlight the continued promotion of our Date My County brand ambassadors, Emily and Michael. Since winning our contest in 2022, they have been passionate in discovering SDG counties and all it has to offer. Please let me know if there are any assets in your own communities that you would like them to highlight. I thank you for your time, and I'm here to answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, thank you, Tara. Any questions or comments? Councillor McGillis.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and thank you for your report, Tara. The question I have is, you mentioned it was 500 open jobs. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that? And I can maybe respond to that after.
Certainly. So the jobs numbers are actually coming through the Eastern Ontario Training Board and other job partners. We are seeing trends across the counties in certain industries. So healthcare continues to be one of the largest. I would note that in dealing just with the North Dundas Manor, I mean, over the next 2 years as they expand, they're looking at a 30% increase in their staffing. So these numbers are going to swell enormously. Maxwell Manor is likely to be in a similar situation with their expansion. We're short PSWs, we're short early childhood care educators, which is actually the reason why many of our early childhood care education centers have additional spaces for children. They can't accept them because they don't have enough workers to watch them. We're seeing positions in our factories, which continue to grow. Alexandria Molding has been growing exponentially over the last 5 years. They actually saw the retirement of over probably close to half of their workforce, just because of when that company opened and when they last did a mass hire. I would say pretty much every one of our industries, they're hiring at lower numbers than they were a year ago, but they're all continuing to hire. Some of them in more specialized positions, but many of them continuing to hire through general labor. So we do have 5% unemployment, but that number also includes those who may have more challenges to find work and might need additional training, they might need additional supports, they might need daycare in many cases. We are finding some unique opportunities in workforce, which includes access to workers coming out of the Dev Center with new worker permits. So the programs at Dev Center have actually helped to alleviate for many industries in Cornwall and outlying into the community, depending on those who have licenses and access to housing.
Follow-up?
Thank you. Is there anything that we do here at the counties that could advertise for these jobs, like on our website for under tourism, to promote those jobs that are available for our residents?
If I may, yes. So one of the tools that we actually launched last year was sdgjobs.ca. And we're not managing the jobs per se like Choose Cornwall, where they actually input them. On our site, we lead them primarily to yournextjob.ca, which is actually a feeder job site from the training board, which actually collects all of the jobs from every other job site across the region. So it helps to unify them in one space. And then we also promote all of the other job opportunities, including the county jobs, because we are regularly hiring over the last couple of years. And we've produced rack cards and promotional materials that we're bringing out to the job fairs to encourage those inside the region, just outside the region, and into Montreal and Ottawa that we have some great opportunities to fill. And the job fairs have been quite successful in promoting especially bulk jobs. Like, for instance, when we went last year, we took the Glengarry Memorial Hospital came with us to the Montreal Job Fair. And among other things, they were looking for many, many, many PSWs. So it's a great place to find different opportunities, as well as specialized services.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Landry.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Warden. In regards, Tara, to the RIP, do we, I believe you were meeting next week over, so there was an there was additional funds from, unused funds, I believe, from last year, so in the range of 50, I think, so are we looking at roughly 300 that we have as far as allocating that for our regional incentive program? With that said, do we have, like, are we aware if there will be a second intake midway through the year, or where does it stand as far as the applications you received in the first take and where you see that taking us? Thanks.
So, great question. So I would say that between myself and the EDOs, we probably spoke to about 35 businesses who expressed interest. By the time the program intake date came, we had 10 beautiful applications, all of them fully complete, all of them meeting the necessary conditions to apply. The others, we get a lot of preliminary. I'd say probably half of those applications are about a year to 2 years from applying. So we get a lot that are going, I'd love to build a company if I could, or I'd love to expand a company if I could. So they need to go through zoning and planning and just their own planning, right? Like, they don't know what they want yet. So some of those applications we'll see at a later date. Of the 10 applications, all of them meet our criteria, and the total value for them, I believe, is about $315,000 in what they're asking. We did have the great fortune of working with the very kind ladies in the finance department to do an entire audit of the RIP program. And the audit was intended to look at not only the canceled projects that have come forward, because we do have 2 that have been canceled due to various criteria. One of them was actually a very large project that didn't go forward in Winchester because they found underlying issues with water access on the site. And they ended up selling the property and reinvesting in another business. It did open up room for another company, so there was a good news story there too. But that brought back $30,000. We had another project that's actually a couple of years old that had been canceled for about another $30,000. And additional funds were found right from the very beginning of 2018. If we had funded a project for, say, $30,000, but then their receipts came up and it was actually only valued at $22,000, the $8,000 stayed. And we ended up finding quite a bit of funding through there. So we are now, essentially, we have closed the book on up to 2023, and we were fortunate to bring forward an extra $79,000. So it is a significant sum of money to reinvest this year. It does meet the need of what has been asked for, so it just depends on the committee's will if they decide to, of those 10 amazing applications, I wouldn't say any of them are not great applications. Their total value is within about, I think it's within about $12,000 of that. So we would come out with about a $12,000 surplus if they were all funded at full amount. So whether there's a second intake, it really depends on how they're funded. But I would say it's unlikely this year. We were moving for a 1 intake model. And my recommendation would be if they choose to follow that route, it's entirely at the will of the committee how they fund. And then we would likely just take the small remaining amount, which would be somewhere around 12,000, and put it into next year's projects. If we had surplus and they decided to fund fewer of them or at lesser amounts, we won't know until after Wednesday's meeting.
Go ahead, Councillor Densham.
Yes, sitting on the committee and having done the reading for this Wednesday when we're having our meeting, it is an interesting question because 9 of the 10 applicants are coming from only 2 municipalities, and the one additional one has received RIP in the past as well. So it is going through my mind in terms of whether a 1 intake per year is the right model. Some businesses are more seasonal, and therefore maybe the timing for applying at this stage may or may not be the right time for certain verticals, and therefore maybe we do need 2 intakes simply because of the fact that we may get a different type of applicant in the second part of the year versus the first. So these are questions that I intend to be raising at this Wednesday's meeting because, again, as Tara pointed out, they're very, very good businesses and great opportunities, but it's important to kind of spread this across all verticals, in my opinion.
Go ahead.
I did want to give one small comment in that you're right, we do have 3 municipalities represented of the 6. Interestingly enough, the opposite 3 municipalities were heavily represented last year. So if we do go back to 2018, you'll find that for whatever reason, communities do follow somewhat of a trend where you'll find that a neighbor sees the neighbor doing work and then the neighbor applies. And I would say that we frequently do run into this issue of how they're coming forward in groups, but that if you do look at it back to the 2018, they are very equally represented.
Okay, thank you. Further questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Broad.
Yeah, just a comment on Councillor Densham's comment. In reverse of that, instead of a second intake that delays 6 months, then the next, for that second intake, we have businesses looking for money today that we can help today. So the board can also look at it in that way, saying there's business applying, they're operational, they're serving our communities. Let's get them the money, make the improvements, which improves their business, and go that way.
Good point. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you for your report.
Thank you very much.
Verbal update, solar eclipse. Welcome, Todd.
So good morning, Council. Good morning, Warden McDonald. Thank you for the opportunity to do our monthly solar eclipse update. So with your permission, Warden McDonald, we'll just get right into it. This is just a little bit of animation, Warden McDonald, showing you the shadow of the moon as it kind of moves across. That's the Great Lakes. You'll note that when this video started, the shadow is moving at about 2,100 miles an hour. By the time this video is done, it'll be at 2,800 miles an hour, so it moves quite quickly and builds speed. Right now, it's just passing over Lake Ontario, kind of in our region, and moving now into southern Quebec. It kind of clips the southern half of the island of Montreal, and then moves into the South Shore. So this is just me really kind of nerding out, but showing you just how big the spectacle this will be. So to this point, Warden McDonald, media, expert, and anecdotal reports continue to suggest that there is the potential for a large group of individuals, potentially numbering in the thousands, to visit our region on April the 8th. But we are positioning ourselves to be solid. We're solidifying partnerships, in fact, and augmenting communication links across multiple jurisdictions, including local government, emergency services, tourism, amenities, provincial ministries, and public health. And public engagement on this subject continues to grow. You've likely seen reports on social media and on the news at night kind of talking about this event, and certainly focus is becoming more sharper as we get closer to the 8th. In 48 hours from now, this room will be filled with about 60 individuals. We'll be having an eclipse planning session on Wednesday, March the 20th. This meeting began as a very small meeting amongst communications individuals in our region, and now has spun up to be really an all-partners meeting for just about any agency that wants to discuss this event coming up next month. In terms of local governments in attendance, local municipalities, transportation staff, police, fire, and paramedics will be here. The Ministry of Transportation is coming, so are local hospitals and Ontario Power Generation. The St. Lawrence Parks Commission, we're going to talk about their event in just a few minutes, but they will be here as well to answer questions. St. Lawrence College has got a really neat event taking place across all three of their campuses. It's a reconciliation event involving the First Nations communities, I believe, of Akwesasne and Tyendinaga. So they'll be hosting an event on that day. And other partners attending include the Seaway International Bridge Corporation, the Department of Homeland Security, the Eastern Ontario Health Unit, as well as the Region Conservation Authority. The Chrysler's Farm Viewing event, so we've got some good news here. First, we would like to note that the St. Lawrence Parks Commission has just been a great public and community partner on this event. Anytime we've called up to ask questions, they've been more than happy to answer them, and we've conducted a number of meetings with them. So they are still sharing updates on the public viewing event taking place on April the 8th. They're anticipating the potential to have 10,000 people at that site. It will likely be between 6,000 and 10,000, not quite a sellout, but they've implemented some protocols for the event that kind of please us. So the first thing they're doing is paid parking. So to attend this event, you've got to purchase a parking ticket. That ticket must be purchased in advance, so you can't show up that day and expect to get on the property. You must go online and purchase that ticket in advance. If conditions allow and ground conditions continue to be dry, they're going to create some overflow parking south of County Road 2. So you'll recall at our last session, we were concerned about pedestrians crossing County Road 2, and County Road 2 is not built for that. So they've gone ahead and made some new protocols where they have most of their individuals south of Highway 2. So what you'll do is you'll come in if you're just a member of the public in your car, and you'll park either in the parking spot or in some of the overflow if it's available. There are buses coming to this event, so what buses will do is likewise they'll come in, they'll drop off their individuals south of Highway 2, and then the buses will turn around and come back out, and they'll end up parking at the airstrip in Morrisburg. And bus drivers are in fact being advised to bring a lawn chair and just stay there. So they're not going to be crossing the street either. Once the event is over and they'll start taking people home, they'll just jump in their bus, wing across the street, pick the individuals up, and they'll leave. And speaking of leaving, the Parks Commission has pre-planned their exit routes from that location, so they're going to try and make that as efficient as possible, bearing in mind that this is kind of a once-in-a-lifetime event at that location. So we're still anticipating delays. We're still anticipating it's going to be very busy there, but they are putting some protocols in place to improve safety. Communications to date, so we are in the midst of a broad communications campaign to this point. This includes regular social media posts, traditional media engagement where appropriate, and web updates. Local municipalities and partner organizations are in fact sharing this material, so that's good. And the campaign includes, by and large, eclipse viewing safety tips. We're advising people do not stop on the side of the road, especially the 401 at that time. And the big message, and you're going to hear it again later on, is stay home if you can. So if you live in this location, or excuse me, if you live in this region and you've got a great viewing location at home in the backyard or on the balcony, our advice would be to stay home because it is going to be a busy day on the roads. Some other mitigation efforts to date, SDG Counties is a member of a provincial working group that includes participation from affected municipalities in our region, as well as EMO, and these working group meetings are ongoing. We have purchased PPE for staff who will or may be working outdoors on the day of the eclipse, and we've also identified key people and points of contact for better communication among partners on that day. So once again, if you live in SDG counties, the best view will be at home. We obviously are welcoming individuals to our region. We expect a lot of visitors, and just repeating once again for the record that it will be a busy day. Just of note, we did get it confirmed from the St. Lawrence Parks Commission that the Long Sault Parkway will not be open to the public on that day. They cited staffing levels being a concern. Really, at this time of year, the Parks Commission is all hands on deck getting their facilities ready for the spring and summer, and that's where they're going to focus focus. And I just bring this up because we have had a few members of the public reach out to us asking if that would be a potential location. And as I said, the Parkway will be closed that day. And then just finally, so we are going to stand up the Emergency Operations Center on that day. It will not be, we aren't declaring an emergency or anything like that, or making it official, but really this is an opportunity for us to kind of pull some of those levers and do a little bit of training for a specific event. So getting materials out of the boxes and the binders, getting the EOC set up, and really we're going to start doing that on Friday, April the 5th, and at that point we're really just monitoring situations and keeping an eye on things. And as mentioned at our last update for you, our new alertable software will play a large role that day in allowing for greater communication among SDG staff. So really, Warden McDonald, that is it in a nutshell. I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Thanks, Todd, for your report. Questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Fraser.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you. Todd, you mentioned the buses. Is there information on one of those social media sites about people, how they would get a ticket to get on a bus?
So yeah, so as far as getting a ticket on a bus specifically, I don't have information on that. I can tell you there are online websites where individuals can go on and purchase tickets. We've spoken with the Parks Commission about helping people with that. What we don't want to see is a traffic jam of individuals showing up that day expecting to just show up, as I said, and get on the site. So we're going to help supplement some of those communications with the Parks Commission to let people know you must purchase tickets to get there. But to answer your initial question, the short answer is I don't know where you would find access to get those tickets on the buses, but I can certainly find that information and provide it to you.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. I think it'd be beneficial to all if we had that information, because we will be asked, I'm sure, at the local end about that. And then the other, it piggybacks to that, the paid parking. Would that information be, whenever you get that information, will you make sure that, can you make sure that we get it at our local levels?
Absolutely, that is not an issue at all. I believe it's $10 a ticket, and that's for an entire car. So if you jam your van full of 8 people, it's still just $10 to get in. And there are web links to that off the top of my head. I don't have them, but I can certainly provide that information fairly quickly.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Warden.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Broad.
Yeah, thank you, Warden. Yeah, definitely South Dundas, we're expecting, well, all those visitors, not to mention when they pull up and don't have a ticket, where are they going to go? So Stormont, South Dundas. So we are standing up our emergency operations as well on the Friday, and we have extensive plans in place. You know, fire department is going to be staffed. All of our departments, roads, rec, and wastewater teams are all going to be in this involved in this day. My request, Warden, or ask is, will our roads department staff be available to help out with any activities for this day where we could see, you know, Glengarry, South Stormont, South Dundas, these thousands of visitors?
Yep, we can. Have we reached out to the local municipalities in regards to that?
Through you, Mr. Warden, no. I'm going to actually, I'm looking over to Derek. Maybe Derek can.
Yeah, we've been in conversations with Todd and their crew. County staff will be available.
Okay, go ahead.
If I may, Warden McDonald, so Wednesday is really going to be the day when we all kind of discuss that. As I said, it's an all-partners meeting, and it's really, it's going to be back and forth. So there'll be some roundtable discussions. It's an opportunity for those local municipalities and really any partner agency to ask questions of other agencies. So I think by the time we're finished with that 2-hour session on Wednesday, we'll have some more specific answers for you in terms of engagement levels at the local level.
That's perfect. Thanks. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, thanks again for your report.
Thank you.
Next, 11.4, SDG Municipal Summit 2024. Madam CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. So in conversations I've had with the warden, we've talked about in the past, SDG has had a summit with local municipalities, a full-day session, to potentially have a guest speaker to allow also each of the local municipalities to bring forward something that's maybe of utmost importance in their community. It could be a project, it could be something that they're working on. We wanted to see if there was interest from the group to set up another SDG Summit day. This would be a good time to plan. Some of the dates that I'm proposing are May and June. We would host it in a centrally located location. We would also make it open to all of the counselors in the local municipalities, as well as any of your administrative staff that you would like to attend. So the idea would be to make it certainly more inclusive and have anybody attend that that would like to participate. So I'm just looking for a little bit of direction from council, if there's dates that they would like, or if there's dates here that are good or not good. We're just looking for a little bit of feedback from council.
Okay, thank you. I think it's a great, if you haven't been to one, it's pretty good. It's nice to see you bringing your local staff in to present something that maybe you're proud of, and it really engages everybody that day. So I think it's a really good opportunity for not only county council, but for our local staffs and our local councilors to be part of something. So Councillor Landry, you had your hand up.
Thank you. Just a quick question. So has this been discussed through the CAO's general meetings that you've had with other CAOs, and basically just to get sort of how the day would be planned, or if there's something that can be brought forward from them first? Thanks.
Through you, Mr. Warden, not yet. At our upcoming CAO's meeting, it would be something that I'd bring up to have for conversation. So it's in the planning process, but certainly plan to include local CAOs, and there might be some topics that might be relevant across all of us that, could be coordinated. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So if the CAOs got together where the discussions all amongst all 6 municipalities, I think it would be good to bring back to their council and get a better sense of what it is that we're trying to attain, and get some planning involved in it. So thank you very much.
Sure. Councillor Broad.
Yeah, thank you, through your warden. Yeah, thank you, CEO Adams. Yeah, I think it would be great activities for us. Obviously, all new in South Dundas, so get an opportunity to do that. And I'm sure you'll do a Google survey on dates, because Mark and I do have some restrictions.
Okay. Perfect. Councillor Fraser.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Madam CAO, I'm not sure how it's going to affect, and I'm sure that information is already out there, but the AOR's trade show is in Cornwall, the June 6th, 7th, I believe. That may affect some of our municipal staff. They may want to attend that. Besides that, I look forward to it, except for May 30th. But besides that, I'm looking forward to the municipal summit. This to get ahead of the Google poll, or the Doodle poll, I'm sorry.
Okay, so perhaps a chat with the CAOs, and then they can reach out to their local council and staff and see what day works best for everyone. Obviously, there's going to be something on pretty much every day that we try to pick, but we'll try to pick one that works for me at least. So, okay. Any further questions or comments? Nope. Okay. Administration update, Madam CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. So I've just provided a brief highlight of some of the items we worked on during the month of February. Some key dates, we continually talk about the solar eclipse on April the 8th, upcoming council meetings, April the 15th and May 21st. The Good Roads Conference is on April the 21st to the 24th, and we have our roads tour planned for Friday, April the 12th. So we will send out more details on that with respect to meeting location and the exact time. And just a little bit of ongoing recruitments. We are recruiting for a position in IT. Library Services is still doing a few recruitments. And many of our summer students, some of those positions are now starting to get filled, but there's a little bit of ongoing recruitment efforts there. The warden and I will be attending the OWC meetings this Thursday and Friday, and that is really a 2-day session to go over strategic priorities, the priorities for the next few years for the Warden's Caucus. So I know that the warden had mentioned that, but that'll be really the intent of the session that we have on Thursday and Friday.
That's it. Any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Broad.
Through you, Warden, CEO Adams, sorry to remind you, but you kind of missed one activity that happened, and that was Mayor Fraser had to wear a Morrisburg Lions jersey. at one of those council meetings recently, so you can see myself and the warden wearing Morrisburg jersey. So thank you, Councillor, for holding up your end of the bargain. But really why I wanted to mention it was, it's not the exact time, but I'll mention it at this point, great activities between the municipalities. So in this case, Morrisburg and the North Dundas Rockets played, and we had many fans travel to each other's communities. The Mustangs from Long Sault have been traveling to Chesterville, so the same, you know, and I know when Alexandria and Charlotte play, Crossing, Maxville has hockey teams. So I think the hockey teams, the events are important in our communities. And, you know, we saw 500-600 fans. We even had TSN, one of the radio guys from Ottawa, TSN, come out to our last game because he was just impressed with all the activities happening in our community. So maybe it's something Tara could focus on next year. When the tourists, I do a small visit of all the different recreation, doesn't have to be hockey, but sport and recreation, how they impact our communities. So thank you for that.
Thanks, that's a great idea. Councillor Fraser, do you want to further embarrass yourself?
Oh, no. I may blush, but I don't get embarrassed. Yes, it was an excellent opportunity for the two communities to come together, and it is a wonderful thing whenever local people and cousins and grandparents and boyfriends and girlfriends are able to enjoy a hockey game and not have to travel too far. As Councillor Broad mentioned, TSN was following Morrisburg. There was someone would have to help me on the name, but AJ something. Thank you very much. Was also in South Stormont at the Long Sault Arena and following the senior hockey and was going on. So it is bringing lots of notoriety to our area of SDG. And I was speaking to someone from Montreal the other day when I was in South Stormont, and they were quite amazed at the amount of people that come together to enjoy a hockey game as a community and to root for the home team. And I was mentioning the size of SDG and the population and the number of teams that play in SDG and Cornwall. And when you think about it, it does draw a lot of people, and it is a community gathering spot, and we are quite fortunate. And I want to thank the volunteers that look after making sure that we are able to celebrate and to cheer on the home team. Sometimes they win, sometimes they don't. Thank you, Mr. Warden.
Thank you, Councillor Fraser. Any further questions or comments? The Glens didn't make the playoffs, so we couldn't have a bet with South Glengarry this year. Okay, moving on to closed session. Madam Clerk.
It's moved by Councillor Bergeron, seconded by Councillor Broad, that council proceed in camera pursuant to Section 239(2)E of the Municipal Act 2001. Litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board for a matter related to SDG official plan appeal, and pursuant to Section 239(2)C of the Municipal Act 2001, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, and Section 239(2)K, a position, plan, procedure, or criteria or instructions to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board for a matter related to project update.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Madam Clerk.
It's moved by Councillor Broad, seconded by Councillor Densham, that council rise and reconvene in open session without reporting.
All those in favor? Motion is carried. Ratification by law.
It's moved by Councillor Landry, seconded by Councillor McGillis, that bylaw number 5442, being a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by resolution, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Thank you. All those in favor? Motion is carried. None opposed. Adjournment by resolution. Madam Clerk.
Moved by Councillor Bergeron, seconded by Councillor Broad, that council adjourn to the call of the chair.
Thank you. So thank you, everyone, for